Good day, good evening, and even good morning to some of you out there. Thank you all for taking your time to be part of this webinar concerning maritime threats. It is a very current subject, a subject that gains a lot of attention these days, as you probably know. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for your interest. My name is Jacob Bosman. I work as Commercial Director here at Gatehouse Maritime. I've been working in the defense and security industry for approximately 10 years, mainly focusing on surveillance and monitoring equipment. It has been solutions for airborne application, land, even the space segment, and now I'm here in the maritime domain. Today with me I have my good colleague Morten. Maybe you can put in a few words.
My name is Morten Larsen and I'm a project manager at Gatehouse Maritime, and I've been working in the maritime domain since approximately 2005.
Perfect. So this is the agenda. We will go through for the next 30 minutes. We will start with a welcome to Gatehouse Maritime, and we will finish off with the Q&A session. So during the presentation, please write any questions you might have, hopefully concerning the subject, and we will at the end see how many questions we can have time to answer.
Yes.
The questions we do not have time to answer, we will personally get back to you afterwards on email. So as I understand, the presentation will be uploaded at our webpage, but also sent directly to everybody who have signed up to this webinar.
That's correct.
Very good. Then let's get started. For those of you who do not know Gatehouse, Gatehouse is a Danish company with a headquarter in the north part of Denmark, in a city called Nørresundby, where we are sitting right now. We also have an office in Tampa, in Florida, USA. And I believe we are approximately 80 to 85 people working at Gatehouse at the moment. We are hiring a lot of people, looking for some skilled people. So if that could be of interest, please take a look at our webpage. Gatehouse Maritime has been delivering maritime safety and domain awareness for more than 25 years. One of the things that makes Gatehouse Maritime unique in the market is our ability to visualize maritime awareness through multiple data sources in a very user-friendly but still advanced software platform. Our solution enables you as a customer to look at data in the past, in the present, real time, but also to predict future routes. Through advanced algorithms, our solution automatically detects suspicious behavior and alerts the customer to prevent and act on any potential threats. This is something we will elaborate a bit more about later, and Morten will show you a few examples of our solution. Our customer range from private companies to government defense agencies, and also authorities. Most of our software products and our solution can be accessed through our own visualization platform called the Maritime Domain Monitor. This is the platform we will show you some examples from. But our solution can also be delivered as an API into your existing system. So here's a snapshot of some of our trusted customers. And to mention a few customers, we have probably the longest customer relation we have is the Danish Maritime Authority. They are protecting the Danish waters, and we recently actually just won a new tender with these guys. So we are very glad about this collaboration we have with them. We also have TUSAS, also called Tele Greenland. We support Tele Greenland in protecting a 2,000 nautical mile cable line. I think it's going from Greenland to Canada, but also from Greenland to Iceland, as I understand it. Yes. So a true story about our customer Tele Greenland. Approximately 10 years ago, they had a cable breach. There was a big, huge trawler damaging one of the cables, and they actually used our solution to do a replay of the incident, make a report that justified the damages was done by another company, and at the end, the other company needed to pay for these damages. So of course, Tele Greenland is still a good and customer here today at Gatehouse Maritime. We have, just to mention a few others, we have the Marine Exchange of Alaska, we have the US Army Corps of Engineers, Total, and we have the Irish Coast Guards as well. We have many other authority customers, some that we cannot mention here, and we also have larger companies with offshore assets. So we are actually supporting a wide range of customers within different segments. And as you see here, there's a lot of applications for our tool. Just to mention a few customer applications, we support critical maritime infrastructure owners with real-time monitoring, geofencing, and 24/7 alerts to prevent any damage. This is typically offshore companies like oil rigs, customers with oil rigs, wind farms, and cable lines like Tele Greenland. But the solution is not only cannot only be used in the protection phase. Some people also use it in the planning phase and in the risk assessment phase when they're implementing any, you can say, new kind of offshore asset. You are able to do the reporting on the density, the activity, to understand, okay, is it a good idea? Is it too risky to place your offshore asset here, or should it be placed here? We also support Coast Guards with real-time vessel tracking and automated alert, enabling swift response to potential threats and emergencies. We are optimizing port operations with real-time vessel tracking. We calculate the correct ETA of ships going into the harbor or the port, and also based on algorithms, we actually calculate the next port, meaning where the ship is going from the port to the next potential port or area. We are providing real-time intelligence, threat detection, and dark ship monitoring to help defend national waters. We'll get back to this matter on detecting and showing dark vessels and dark fleets with different sensor technology and extended vessel information. We're also doing data mitigation, basically gathering a lot of data and distributing it in a useful way for many customers. This has become a big segment for us. AIS monitoring as well. And our advanced analytics help to detect illegal fishing and potential pollution incidents as well. So as you see, we are covering a wide range of applications, and we will show you more in depth later how we are able to doing so. Good. So what you see here is the current maritime threat landscape. As you know, we are seeing a rising threat picture in the maritime domain. Or you within the domain know that there is a rising threat picture. Some of the threats we are seeing, we have tried to highlight it here, and we will go through them afterwards later. We see a lot of cable breaches. And we see a lot of these incidents, and we actually see almost a breach every third day. The Baltic Sea is especially a place where you see a lot of cable damages and data gathering happening. Some of these incidents are made by mistake, and some on purpose. But we will say no matter what, a tool is needed to reduce the risk and potentially save millions of euros and resources in fixing these infrastructures. And you know, and also not have people monitoring any kind of information around these critical infrastructures. We see an increase in dark fleet entering local waters, changing flag, spoofing, changing ship information, and sail under sanction status. These ships are transporting weapons, oil and gas, just as an example. And a tool is needed to know where these ships or vessels are and make sure that they stay away from local waters as well. There's a lot of ship-to-ship illegal activity, including smuggling, drug, and human trafficking. and we see dark ships turning off the AIS signal to do different illegal kind of activity. There's no doubt that we are seeing an increasing threat picture, and to emphasize the focus on these maritime threats, EU have recently just launched this action plan, as shown in the slide. I think it's a couple of days old, this action plan, but it actually mirrors the fundamental idea of how we at Gatehouse Maritime see our solution being used in the best possible way to prevent, detect, and respond to real-life threats, and show valid data to be able to act on. You can take a closer look at this slide, and probably there's also a link where you can read more about the EU action plan, and we can hopefully have a time to discuss this at another meeting. So I'll say now it's a good time to maybe look at some of the examples on how we can mitigate some of these threats we have just been discussing, Morten.
Yes. I'm going to go through a couple of use cases to show how we're trying to mitigate risk across of the maritime segment. Some of the use case demonstrations would include detection of dark fleets through extended vessel data. What can you do if the AIS is turned off, and how to mitigate this occurrence? How we're using multiple data sources to gather a more clear picture of what's actually going on in the maritime segment, and how we're using real-time alerts as well. So I'm going to just go through these. The first slide here actually shows you a database extract that we have done. We are, of course, collecting all of the AIS data that is possible, and we are storing this in a database. And this allows us to run a whole host of different types of queries into this database. And this is one of these things that we're looking at. What we're looking at is a list of all of the vessels that has switched flags between July and October of 2024. And switching flags can be very innocent. It can just be a transfer of ownership from one company to another, but it can also be nefarious. So what we can do is dig deep into the database, extract these data, and deliver a list of all of the flag changing that has happened within a period, and allow other authorities to correlate that data with other intelligence data to generate a more thorough threat picture, or keep a hold of dark fleets in real time, really.
Okay. Good.
If we move to the next one, we're also enriching the data in what we call the extended vessel database. And what we're doing is we're collecting additional data on vessels, all vessels, with AIS. This can include everything from the engine manufacturer to the ownership information, the register information, the ISM manager, but also bans and sanctions and other flag performance issues. So this is one of the examples that is going on from the database. This is one of the vessels that I've highlighted. This has a ban from the country of Italy, and it's an ongoing ban since last year. And the ban reason is a multiple of detentions. So it's had some inspections, and it's had a lot of deficiencies, and it has thus been banned from entering EU ports.
Okay. Maybe I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this tool can actually be used by, let's say, ports, authorities,
yes,
but also ship services, to have this extended information like bans, and you're talking about sanctions.
Yes, let's move to the next one here.
Yeah. But is this something that is found in the AIS?
No. This is enriched AIS data. So we collect all of the AIS data, and then we enrich all of the data based on the MMSI or IMO, and then we pull down sanction data, ban data, engine data, all types of extended data, put it into a single database, and allows the user or the operator using the tool to actually search using all of this extended vessel info. So not only can you search on a known vessel using the name or the MMSI, but you can also search using the band status or the engine manufacturer or the sanctions, like this vessel that we're looking at here, which has been sanctioned by the EU due to arms exporting.
Okay, but I see a lot of information. How can you, as a single-handed operator, understand if a sanctioned ship is getting close to your local waters? Is it automatically, or you need to pick?
No.
Choose each.
Our tool allows you to set up geofences, so you can add a geofence around your national waters or around any area of interest that you might have, and you can use all of these, both the default AIS vessel information and the extended vessel information as well, in your filters. So you can set up a filter looking for vessels that has any bans or sanctions or any other types of extended information.
Okay.
And you can then set up a geofence alerting any operator when one of these vessels enters your area of interest.
Okay. Yeah. So if it enters your area of interest, how are you actually getting informed as an operator or as a customer? How do you act?
You'll get a notification in the tool itself, and you can also be notified using email or text messages. So you can actually be notified even if you're home or it's a weekend or if there's no one in the call center as well.
All right. And is it possible to have a message to the ship somehow?
Well, you can send messages to the vessels. You wouldn't normally do this on ban sanctions, but we support messages to vessels if they enter an area. We can do this in one of two ways, actually. If you have transmission capability, so if you have access to base stations, you can transmit an AIS message to the vessel if they do something illicit, or you can send and if you don't have access to transmission capability, you can send an Inmarsat-C message to their satellite terminal on the vessel.
All right.
It would be most useful if you have AIS transmit capability, because that would be displayed on the actors on the vessel, and they have to actually click on that. But it's better to send a message than not send a message.
Definitely, that's important to prevent. You can say also from asset protection owners, especially.
That could be both asset protection owners, but it can also be used. The automatic notification feature can also be used to do other things. So for instance, if you're a national authority and you have a ship that sails aground, you can actually transmit messages to all vessels near this that you have a grounding here, and you need to move around.
Yeah, I get you. I get you. Interesting.
Yes. Moving ahead to the next slide here. What actually happens when the AIS is turned off? The normal answer would be, well, then we don't actually know what the vessel is doing. What we're working on right now is collecting and correlating all types of additional data into the system. This can be anything ranging from radar to desk type, acoustic sensors. This could be RF information. This could be mobile phone information. This could also be satellite imagery information. And what we're trying to do is enter all of this extra data into the system. And then when we get an identified target, we try to tie it to an existing AIS target, which will allow us to follow this AIS target even if the AIS is turned on. This is one example where we have these yellow targets, which are the AIS targets, and you have the transparent targets, which are the targets that are picked up by other types of data. In this case, it could be radar, but it could also be acoustic censoring or any other type of data. And this allows us to kind of create ghost targets that we can follow and act upon as if they were real AIS targets, because we know that the AIS is turned off at the moment.
Exactly. What? Yeah, you can just.
Go ahead. If you had a question, that's fine.
Yeah. As I understand it, we are already supporting some customers correlating these kind of sensor data with our AIS data, visualizing it in our own software.
Yes, it's very important here to say that we don't necessarily supply the extra data.
No.
So we generally take the data that the customers have available. So if they have radar data, we integrate that. If they have acoustic censoring data, we integrate that. and then we provide the software solution for displaying and alerting using this data. But we don't provide the data itself necessarily.
Okay. And this is actually a good example on how we are visualizing it in our maritime domain monitor software.
Yes. Yeah. This is also a visualization of the same thing. So what you have in the blue line is the AIS track, and you can see at the point where the ship is marked, he has turned off his AIS, and then we have a red dotted line, which is the current trajectory and track using other sensor type data. And the yellow one is the actual position of the target at the moment. The blue box is a geofence, and we can actually detect this vessel using other sensory data than AIS. So even if he crosses into one of the restricted zones, we can still follow him, supposed that we have extra data as well.
Interesting. So
the real-time alerts can also be generated using any type of data source or a multiplicity of data sources as well.
So that's where it becomes really interesting. Then it's going to be very difficult to do the dark ship trick. You know?
Yes. Yes.
Great. And as I understand it, we also, when we are creating these geofences, maybe just to be clear, we already have many of these event detectors.
Yes.
When somebody is turning off the AIS signal, you will actually get an alert.
Yes. Yes. We have a whole host of different pattern detections allowing you to generate events on a whole host of things. The last webinar that we had focused on the asset protection part, which is this screenshot here, where we can clearly see this is a screenshot of a fishing vessel that has entered a security zone around some critical infrastructure. In this case, it's a power line, and he's fishing not over the power line, which is fortunate, but he's fishing too close to the power line. And we can give you an alert if something like this happens. The activities filtering spans a whole host of things. So that could be stuff like fishing, it could be anchor dragging, it could be drifting, turning off your AIS transponder. Stuff like this could give you an alert when they're within the zone of interest.
Okay.
Again, here we also support sending messages to the offending vessel. We support notifying operators as well.
Okay. So is it in the AIS signal that we can see the vessel fishing? Just to be clear.
Well, yes and no. You can see that the vessel is fishing if he remembers to switch his navigational status to fishing. This is not always reliable because sometimes they forget to turn off fishing and then they just sail into port. You can also have vessels that are not under command during the whole trip because they forget to set the navigational status field in their ECDIS as well. So we can do both. We can detect the navigational status change or the navigational status when they're in the area, but we can also detect the patterns of the vessels that are anchoring or that are fishing or that do any of these other illicit types of operations.
I would say that's where it becomes very interesting with all the data available. You know, you cannot see all these suspicious activities.
That's our goal. Let's make it almost impossible to do something without us figuring out.
What about the data? For how long time can we go back and actually look at some of this this data?
We store data from the last 20 years.
Okay.
We have access to data.
Okay.
So that's AIS data from Northern Europe for the last 20 years, and I think we went global around 15 years ago. So we store global data from around 15 years. Yeah.
All right.
Also, this large pool of data also enables us to actually expand our modes of operation. So what we're looking at now is different types of incident detection, and then the next slide that I'm going to show is actually one of these. So what we're working on here, or what we've done here, is make an automatic notification when we detect rendezvous. In this case, I'm just going to show you the video, and then I'm going to explain it. So if we start the video here, you can actually see that the orange or the teal vessel is a cargo ship that is sailing off the coast of Denmark. And the blue one is a fishing vessel, which has been in a holding pattern for quite a while. As soon as the cargo ships pass, he switches off his AIS. And then we draw an imaginary line corresponding to the speedogram that he would have had if he had to traverse that. And then he turns on his AIS again, and then he sails to shore. So this is one of the new types of incidents that we automatically detect. So I'm just going to replay the video again so you can see it. Let's just do this one more time. So the pink line is the cargo ship. He's sailing past the fishing vessel, which is in a holding pattern. As soon as the cargo ship moves across, he turns off his AIS.
Yeah.
Probably picks up something. At least it's very suspicious that he turns off his AIS.
Yeah.
He turns it on again and goes to shore. This would be detected automatically and can alert any authorities. So you could, in principle, be waiting for him when he gets to shore.
I could imagine a few places in the world where this kind of activity you would see more often.
Yes.
But somebody would probably wait on the, as you said,
yes.
on the blue
yes.
dot on shore.
Wait to inspect the fishing vessel once he gets to port. So this is one of the new types of automatic incidents that we are detecting and alerting for.
Interesting.
Let's go back to the slides. There we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Morten. So to slowly begin to round off before we go to the last part where we can answer a lot of questions. It's important to emphasize that customers need a tool to detect these the ships that perform any activity that might be of danger of your operation or your asset or area of interest. You can say your line of work. There is a lot of data to handle single-handed, and therefore a tool is needed to automatically alert you based on algorithms and machine learning. And we believe it's essential to optimize your operation. Some of the key takeaways is presented here at this slide. We hope that you have enjoyed this presentation you have seen so far for the last 30 minutes. We hope it's clear that the rising demand for having a tool to mitigate these rising threats are needed. We can agree there is a rising threat picture, and it keeps getting maybe even worse in the maritime domain, and the new illegal activities are rising and becoming more often. We at Gatehouse Maritime have this solution to mitigate most of these risks. Now you have received some kind of short teaser, but of course we would like to demonstrate it for you more in depth, show what we are capable of, listen to your needs, and arrange a meeting to discuss solutions. I think we should go to the Q&A session.
Yes, let's do this. Okay, we do have some questions. Do you want to start?
Yeah, if I can read it, maybe I can borrow your glasses. Okay, I can take this one. You briefly mentioned sensors on subsea cables. Is this something Gatehouse Maritime is working on?
Yes, we are actively working with other partners in this area to include acoustic data censoring data into our solution as well.
Okay, very good.
Let's do the next one. Can I get some sort of alert if, for example, a vessel with sanctions is entering a specific area? Yes, you can set up filtering based on sanctions or any specific type of sanctions. So if you're only looking for arms sanctions, then you can do that. If you're looking for other types of sanctions, import-export sanctions or anything like that, then you can set up a filter, and you can use that filter as a basis for your geofence and your alerting as well.
Exactly. And that is basically you're setting up filters and alerts, not based on AIS data, but extended vessel data,
yes.
Data from other sources.
Yes.
Could it also be in the future DAS or other, like other sensor data? This is something we have experience working on. As
you can trigger the event using other sensory type data, but you can't necessarily identify the vessel if you don't have an AIS target first. So you need to associate the other data with an AIS vessel, and then you can trigger on that AIS vessel.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Collate the data.
Yes,
and,
yes, exactly.
What we do
Do
already.
you want to take number 3?
Yes. Will you as a company get access to any data source that we put into your platform?
Yes. The basic question or the basic answer is yes. What we do for most of our clients is also data mediation. So we're used to taking in a lot of data and actually working on this. The only caveat is that it has to have some sort of positional identity. So if you're trying to correlate acoustic sensoring data, you need a position type data. So yes, but the short answer is yes. We will probably be able to get any data into the problem.
We are currently doing so for some customers.
Yes.
But again, as we talked about, taking in radar data, for example, but we are not selling the radar. We might have some connections, but we sell the tool and we integrate the data. Okay.
Let's say cable damages has occurred on all times. Most of them are by accident or by neglecting presence of cables in the fishing locations. Where is the notion coming from that nowadays cable damage is caused all by sabotage, which is certainly not the historic case. I don't think that the notion that all cable damage is caused by sabotage is something that we've said. What we've experienced, at least here in Northern Europe, is that there is some cable damage from sabotage as well.
So some on purpose maybe, but there's a lot of statistics saying that this could just be a standard fault, like a but again, you need a tool to reduce the risk of any damages happening for your cable, and even damages made on faults, you're able to detect very clearly because these guys normally do not turn off the AI signal, and even if they do, we have a lot of event detectors already informing this guy, but also informing the customer, the operator, to take any action before this before the damage happens.
Also, I think it's important to stress that our tool is actually agnostic to the cause. We don't really care if it's sabotage or if it's by accident. What we're trying to do is actually place a vessel where the damage is, so any operators or authorities can actually take action against that entity. Not determine whether or not it's by accident or if it's on purpose. So let's move to the next one. How do you detect when a dark vessel has crossed a geofence? What we do is we generate a sort of like a ghost target. So we have a position that is tied to an existing AIS vessel that has now turned off the AIS. And then we're following that using other sensory data, acoustic or radar. And when that target crosses into a geofence, we trigger on the AIS target, which has been linked to this ghost target. I can do a more in-depth explanation in the email. And we have another one. Do you want to read that one?
Will there be any legal problems related to direct contact with ships?
That depends on your local authorities. Here in Northern Europe, you need, or at least here in Denmark, where we have some of these solutions running, you need to get a permit from the correct authorities in Denmark. So that would be the Danish Maritime Authority and the Energy Authority as well, to send out AIS messages. There's no legal loopholes to go through if you're looking at Inmarsat-C messages. Those are just free for all almost. But the AIS messages, you need to check your local laws and regulations.
Good. Let's just scroll down here.
Let's see, there's one here. How intelligent is the onboard vessel mapping system to alert the vessel not to drag an anchor or troll the seabed? That's really a question for the Aegis manufacturers. That's not what we do. So if that's not what you're actually asking, then please restate the question.
Yeah. Okay.
The next one here, cable damage caused by vessels activity and their detection has been there for some time as an insurance issue, but how can we prevent damage up front? Well, that's what we're trying to do here is actually detect vessels when they're entering a safety zone, not just a 500-meter zone, but maybe a safety zone that's larger, and detect them when they're dragging an anchor or they're fishing in an area where they shouldn't be, to actually send a message to the vessel, allowing them to veer off course and not damage the cable or the pipeline or whatever infrastructure you might have. So that's the point. The point is to alert operators if possible, or alert the vessel when possible. And again, depending on your local situation, some places you have local corporations with coast guards that can actually contact the vessel directly. Other places we can just send AIS messages, and some places you're not allowed to contact the vessels at all. So it really depends on your local laws and regulations.
Mm. Yeah, what we normally do is that I see some customers do a 5-kilometer inner zone around the asset, and then they do a 1 nautical mile and a 2 nautical mile zone with different severities of the you say the alerts you will get.
Yes.
And that's what we see.
Yeah.
There is approximately what % of the cable interconnector cuts are from dragging anchors or trawlers fishing?
That's a difficult question to answer. Yeah,
it will be a guess.
We won't guess, but we'll try to find the answer for you when we send out the email. That's the.
Definitely.
Do you deliver alerts directly to DMA MOC, or how is coordination with other data sources managed? In the cases here in Northern Europe where we're actually sending data, they have their own base stations, they have their own permits, and they are sending out messages that have been pre-approved by the Danish Maritime Authority and the Swedish Maritime Authority and the Polish authorities as well. So the messages has been approved, and the transmission license has been given by those countries. They are not sent to DMA MOC at all.
Good question so far. Let's see what we have here.
Yeah,
there's a lot of questions.
Does Gatehouse Maritime have in-house support, or customers have to establish it? We have in-house support on the systems that we run. Some clients have their own support system as well. It really depends on the setup.
Yeah, this one is interesting as well.
We will answer that one in the email because that's a bit long.
A bit long and maybe a bit confidential.
How long did you spend to teach the machine towards useful algorithms? Again, this is a difficult question. Some of our machine learning algorithms take months, some take years. It really depends on the type of algorithm. Now let's see if there are any more. Let's see, what do we have here? We have one. Is there some idea of common different kinds of anomalies, and is it possible to recover specific data from these scenarios for analysis? Yes, that is what we try to do. We have a very big data set, and we try to find the things that we are looking for. This could be any type of occurrence, anything from fleet transgressions to groundings to collisions and stuff like this, and then we try to figure out how can we detect that in real time using the data sets from actual collisions or actual groundings or actual incidents of any type, and then we try to create algorithms or machine learning algorithms that will help us do that.
Should I read this one?
Yes, let's do that one as well.
Okay. According, I think I should say, according to your experience on supporting maritime customers that are using your solution, what kind of action do you suggest them to do after having detected a threat against their infrastructure? I mean, real-time mitigation action.
Okay, again, this depends on the type of customer, and it depends on the type of rules and regulations that they're working with. Some of our active customers have actual guard boats that are sailing out, and they will have a layered approach. So if they enter one zone, they will send a message to the vessel. If they enter the zone, the next sequential zone, they'll send another message. And if they get too close, they'll actually send out the guard ships. That's one approach. That costs a lot of money, and that's up to the client itself. Others will just send messages. Others will try to contact local Coast Guard authorities and have them take action, because they're actually allowed to contact the vessel where our clients are not allowed to contact the vessel. So we have to find the solution that fits within the environment that we're working in.
I guess somebody else have a connection to some kind of, you can say, it could be a drone or something. Yes. That would be launched, or
you can imagine all types of issues. Some of them are very, very expensive and very out there, like drones or guard ships, cameras, stuff like this as well. Some of them are very down to earth. Some of the things that we have experienced in the Arctic is when fishing vessels went too close to the cables, they would write down when it was. They will call the actual operator of that fishing vessel, and then they would tell them out on the phone, and the behavior would change over time. So it really depends on what type of environment you're working with and what type of legal action you are allowed to take.
Okay.
So there is no one size fits all in this approach. This one is the next one. How well are the cables and pipelines surveyed on the seabed to be able to warn a vessel to take corrective action in time? Since we are supporting the owners of the cables, if we're talking about cables, we would normally get the escalate positions of the cable. So we would have the actual location of the cable itself, and then we would create safety zones, either the basic safety zone of 500 meters or safety zones going way further out if you need to look for anchorings or driftings or stuff like this.
Can I take this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, do you integrate any satellite imaging, optical or SAR data into your platform?
We are data independent. So if the customer has access to high quality SAR data or satellite imagery data, we will incorporate that into the platform.
And we have some customers that have this access to this kind of
Yes.
Information, and we are supporting in visualizing it.
Yes.
Okay, we can take this one, and I think maybe this is one of the last we can have time to.
Yeah,
Will
let's
you
take
it?
Yes. To alert all vessels within a shipping channel that crosses multiple assets, cable pipelines, and etc. would be quite a challenge. Do you only alert those who are connected to you? No, the option to alert would alert vessels that are actually doing something that they shouldn't be doing. So supposing that you are sailing into an area where there's a pipeline and you have your anchor dragging, then we would alert you. But if you're just sailing across with 12 knots and you're not doing anything untowards, then you wouldn't get an alert. All of these types of alertings are based on different types of activities. So that could be anchor dragging, that could be drifting, that could be
speed drops.
If you have a heavy speed drop, fishing, and stuff like this. So you would actually have to trigger one of these activities before we would alert the vessel, not just any vessel sailing across an asset. Good. That was one of the last questions that we had time for. We just want to thank you for attending this webinar, and we'll leave you with the last screen here.
Yes, thank you very much for participating. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We will gladly continue any discussions or demonstrations we can support you with. Have a great day, and Thank you all for participating.
Yes. Thank you all.